Metroid Zero Mission is essentially a retelling of the original Metroid, which debuted on the Nintendo Entertainment System in 1986. Those who remember playing that game in its heyday will be in for a number of unique surprises here, though to get any more specific than that would be to ruin some of the fun. Even those who don't consider themselves fans of the series ought to appreciate the quality of this side-scrolling action game, though. It features excellent controls and visuals, and very well-designed action and exploration elements, together with some great science fiction touches. Unfortunately, much like 2002's Metroid Fusion, Zero Mission is a disappointingly short-lived experience, even if it is really good. Like every Metroid game, Zero Mission casts you as the legendary interstellar bounty hunter Samus Aran, whose one-of-a-kind power armor enables her to battle foes and reach places no one else can. The game begins when she lands on the planet Zebes. Her mission is to exterminate the space pirate presence on the planet and to wipe out the Metroids, those floating jellyfish-like creatures whose life-sucking properties threaten the galaxy. If you've played the first Metroid, you'll undoubtedly recognize some of the sequences from that game in their new incarnations here, but you'll instantly notice certain sequences and encounters that are completely new. Also, Zero Mission features some good-looking full-screen cutscenes, which are occasionally used to move the story along. Fortunately, the story isn't as invasive as it was in Metroid Fusion, in which the story made you constantly feel as though you were being rushed from one area to the next. This means you're more or less free to go about Zero Mission at your own pace, which adds to the feel that Samus isn't just an interstellar bounty hunter, but also a detective. It's mostly just a sign of how times have changed, but Zero Mission certainly is a lot easier to play than the game it's based on. Unlike the original Metroid, you do have an auto-map here, and at certain key points, a blip on your map will indicate where you should go next. As a result, Zero Mission is a linear game, despite appearances that you're free to go wherever you want. You can try to explore off the beaten path for items that boost your maximum energy and missile capacity and such, but only a few parts of the game are particularly challenging at the default difficulty setting, so you won't be doing this out of necessity. All told, you should be able to finish the game in just 5 or 6 hours your first time through, or even less if you're a veteran of the series. At that point, you unlock a harder difficulty setting in which enemies are tougher and more plentiful, and you also unlock the classic version of Metroid, which sure doesn't look like much anymore, but still plays well. Furthermore, you can continue hunting for every last hidden item. The course of the game itself, short as it may be, is exciting and action-packed for as long as it lasts. Samus starts out pretty strong. She can fire rapidly in any direction using the beam weapon on her arm, and she can jump pretty high. Soon enough, she'll start stocking up on enhancements to her power suit, most of which will be very familiar to Metroid fans. Her attacks will be made more powerful by way of such classic items as the Ice Beam, the Wave Beam, and the Screw Attack. Samus also finds a very useful power-up called the Power Grip, which allows her to grab and climb onto ledges. This ability to latch onto, vault off of, and shoot from most ledges is a great feature that makes Samus much more mobile once she gains the ability. Later in her adventure, Samus will also find power missiles and power bombs, which are souped-up versions of the basic versions. These let Samus open up a few doors that couldn't be opened previously, and that's about all the purpose that they serve, actually. This is indicative of a larger problem. There's a ton of cool stuff to find in Zero Mission, but there just aren't many situations in which you get to use most of it. The game features a number of great-looking battles against boss monsters, many of which creep up on you in a surprisingly suspenseful manner, but most of the bosses simply require you to jump around and avoid their attacks and counter with a barrage of missiles. And late in the game, when your suit is fully powered up, you can freely navigate the environment without any fear of its inhabitants. It's almost as if Samus' suit were designed to allow her to take on a much more challenging, much longer adventure than the one contained in Zero Mission. Metroid Zero Mission recycles some of the character graphics from Super Metroid and Metroid Fusion. Fortunately, Samus' red and gold power armor looks every bit as good today as ever. Fans will really appreciate how faithfully the original game's environments have been retouched in Zero Mission, and will also more than likely really enjoy the new areas and enemies that have been added. Overall, this is easily one of the best-looking games of its kind on the GBA. The entire presentation and the gameplay itself are first-rate in Metroid Zero Mission. You'll just wish that there were more meat to the game. Since new Metroid games are seldom released, it's no wonder that the formula hasn't worn thin after all these years. But it sure would be nice if the trend were for more substantive, longer-lasting installments in this great series. Metroid fans shouldn't be discouraged, though, because they'll still relish every single minute of Zero Mission, and with good reason. For the comprehensive review of Metroid Zero Mission, please refer to the GameSpace.